This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, Shalom Aleichem, Bruchim Haba, welcome everyone. We have really a beautiful stanza of the Rosh today. We're up to Ois Nun Tes in the Orchos Chaim of the Rosh. And the Rosh says, Al Tosim Einecha L'misha Allah La'oishar Yoser Mimecha. Do not place your eyes on someone who has been elevated to wealth more than you. Ella L'mi Shehu Tachtecha. Only to someone who's below you. In other words, always look at someone who has less than you in Gashmias, not someone who has more than you. Don't look at someone who has a nicer house than you. Don't look at someone who has a nicer car than you. Don't look at someone who has better matzav than you. Look at someone who has less than you. You'll be much happier. By the way, this is very connected to this week's parsha. When it comes to the shulchan, the measurements of the shulchan are primarily 2 by 1. Whole numbers. When it comes to the arayin, the measurements are 2.5 by 1.5 by 1.5. Kli Yakar says, when it comes to spirituality, Torah, one should imagine that they're lacking, they're missing. When it comes to physicality, the shulchan, material possession, one should imagine that they're whole. So you say, so why are one of the measurements of the shulchan in half? Rav Pam says it's because there's one element of Gashmias that you should still view yourself as if you're lacking, and that is in Hachzakas HaTorah. Now, there's a beautiful diuk here in the Rosh. The Rosh says, regarding not looking at someone who has more than you, he says, don't look at someone who was elevated to greater wealth than you, but rather someone who has less than you. Why doesn't he say, but rather someone who was descended to less than you? Why by wealth does he say, don't look at someone who has been elevated to more wealth? And when he talks about who you should look at, he says, look at someone who is less than you. Why doesn't he say to someone who has been lowered to less than you? And the Rosh and the Rav Goldberg says very beautifully that when it comes to jealousy, most people are not jealous of a multi-billionaire if that's how they always were. If that person was also always a multi-billionaire, it's not going to really rouse the person's jealousy. It's the person who was on equal footing, the same footing as you. Somebody who you were in the same station in life, and then he was elevated to greater wealth. That's what makes a person jealous. So the Rosh is saying, don't look at someone, not someone who's wealthier, someone who's elevated to be more wealthy than you, because that's really going to get on your nerves, get under your skin. Rather, who you should look at someone who has less than you, and that doesn't matter why they have less than you. They descended to less than you, but even if just that's their matzav in life, by looking at someone who has less than you, you'll be happy with what you have. So that's a very beautiful diuk. Now, Reb Chaim Kanievsky, in his footnotes on the Orchos Chaim of the Rosh called Hasam Archosav, Reb Chaim Kanievsky, who gives the makar for all the words of the Rosh, Reb Chaim says something incredible. Reb Chaim says, what's the makar in Shas that one should look at someone who is less than him? It's a Gemara Nedarim in Daf Nun Amud Aleph. Rabbi Akiva married the daughter of Kabba Savua. They were very poor, and they slept in straw. And Rabbi Akiva had to pick the straw out of his wife's hair. That's how poor they were. Eliyahu came, and Eliyahu appeared like a person, and he was calling at the door. And he says, please, could I have a little straw? My wife gave birth, and I don't have any straw to put the baby down on. So Rabbi Akiva said to his wife, you see, look at this person. Look how wealthy we are. This person doesn't even have straw. So we see that HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent Eliyahu Hanavi just to be able to show Akiva and his wife that there are people who have less than them, to be mechazik them. So from there we see it's the proper path in life to look at people who have less than you. Because look, the Rebbeinu Shalom made a miracle to send Eliyahu Hanavi just to be able to let Akiva know that there are people in this world that have less than him. Now, Rav Goldberg says that looking at people who have less than you, in order to be able to thank Hashem for the good Hashem's done, is a very big chelak in Avodas Hashem. A very significant part of Avodas Hashem is looking at people in this world who have less than you. So, for example, if someone is mevaker choila, aside from the fact that you need to daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu to heal you, to heal the choila. In other words, the person goes to the hospital, he visits someone who's sick, so aside from the mitzvah of praying for the person, secondly, one has to remember to thank Hashem, Baruch Hashem, I don't have that problem, I don't have that issue, I don't have that illness. And this way, a person will be filled with halal b'haidah one's whole life. So this is a very big yesod in Avodas Hashem. Person's mevaker chayla, a person is menachem avelim. One should think Hashem should heal the person, Hashem should bring them nechama, and Baruch Hashem, I'm the mevaker and I'm the menachem, and not the other way around. And the Tosfos Yom Tov adds a very important nekuda in his Yiddish translation to this line of the Orchos Chaim of the Rosh. The Tosfos Yom Tov says, don't gaze at people who have more money than you. Look at those who have less than you, and you'll never be jealous. And this way you'll be happy with what you have, and this way you'll be able to lead your life with a life of Yiras Shamayim. So from there we see an important thing, that if someone is caught up with what they don't have, it's hard to fear HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because you're sort of questioning if your lot in life is divinely allotted. When a person acknowledges that everything they have is exactly heaven tailored, they can have Yiras Shamayim, and then says the Tosfos Yom Tov that this is, you can have a life of Yiras Shamayim v'chayim Yehudiyim, and a Jewish life. So we see that this midah, always looking at those who have less than you, not those who have more than you, this is chayim Yehudiyim. That's what it means to have a Jewish life. Jewish life doesn't mean to eat cholent. Jewish life means to have the midah of looking at those who have less than you. This is the derech of Klal Yisrael. This is the derech of our forefathers. Not to look at what other people have. See what people who have less than you have. Only that way you could live a life of happiness, and only that way you could live a Jewish life. Okay, Bez Hashem, tomorrow we hope to look at Ois Samach. Thanks everyone for joining. By the way, the shiurim this week, the Wednesday shiurim, Wednesday morning, Wednesday night, are this week Tuesday. So tomorrow, 10:40 a.m., and the Wednesday night shiur this week is 8:30 tomorrow night. I'm sure Yedidi Reb Gedalia Schwartz will be my dear everybody. But keep posted tomorrow night, Tuesday night shiur, and next week back to regular schedule. Okay? Kol Tov, everyone. Bye-bye.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.